Hello and welcome to this week's sermon. This week's sermon is a little bit different in that this coming Sunday, the 17th of September 2023, is what we call Green Sunday in our part of the world. It's an initiative by which the parishes of the Auckland Synod area are invited to follow a theme on the environment and find suitable readings and think about the wonders of creation and human responsibilities for the environment. And so I've chosen as readings from the lectionary, really, two of them. Exodus 14, 19 to 31, which is the crossing of the Red Sea. Psalm 8, wonderful Psalm 8, verses 1 to 9. And Matthew 14, verses 22 to 33. That's the story of Jesus walking on the water. So here are a few thoughts from a good source of information, I hope and believe, and it's my contribution towards our thinking on Green Sunday 2023. How close is science coming to affirming the existence of God? Now, I know science cannot be used to prove the existence of God because God is not an object or process within his own creation. Nor can science be used to disprove the existence of God. Such a thing is impossible because science looks at phenomena and processes within the created order. God lies outside of creation if he exists at all as creator. So God cannot be proven or disproven in the same way as a scientific truth can be. But can science point us towards faith in God? Just how close can modern science take us? Now, I speak as a theologian, pastor, certainly not as a scientist, but I believe I have found some impeccable sources, and I will endeavour to share their scientific knowledge as faithfully as I can. I do so hope I'm not making any terrible errors in what I say. We have become accustomed to the idea that religion and science do not mix. They are like oil and water. But this is not necessarily the case. The first scientists were often deeply religious. Sir Isaac Newton was a Christian. Copernicus, who first described the earth going around the sun, was a monk. Steno, who first described fossils and the archaeological layers within the soil, was a bishop. When science leapt across into the modern industrialization and commerce at the time of the Enlightenment, the divide opened up between religion and science. Those seeking to build a new world of trade and technological progress were not interested anymore in a human's spiritual capacity, but were only concerned with people as an economic unit of production and consumption. Such were the many achievements of modern science that it looked as though the world could indeed manage perfectly well without God. After about 300 years of apparent divergence, the streams of science and religion are slowly coming back together. These figures I'm about to quote are from the United States Academy of Sciences, so will be higher than European averages, but here they are. 51% of scientists are theists, 41% agnostic or atheist, about half and half agnostic, half and half atheist within that 41%, with the higher percentage of believers in the younger age groups, 66% overall in the younger age groups, and 76% among American medical graduates. So why this change? Why this swing towards theism again? Well, cosmological evidence has been a big factor in shifting opinion. There are other branches of science that have influenced this growing confluence, I know that, but I will confine myself to cosmological evidence today. Since 1927, we have become accustomed to the idea that the universe started with the Big Bang, and that the universe is expanding from this point of origin. This is practically universally accepted among scientists, and there are a lot of very reliable proofs to back up this theory. The Big Bang is said to have happened 13.8 billion years ago. Scientists, as I say, have accepted this theory, but they do have a problem with the Big Bang theory. That problem is that the Big Bang means that the universe had a beginning. If there was a beginning, there was a time when the universe did not exist. There was a time when there was nothing, not even time or space. There are several scientific models for what the universe might be. Some have suggested a universe that constantly bounces from expansion to contraction. Others have suggested a multiverse, a theory according to which our universe is just one universe among trillions and trillions of universes. Others have ideas of a string of higher dimensional universes, each popping out of its predecessor. But whichever mathematical model you may favour, they all have the same problem. They all require a beginning. This is because they all require the idea of an expanding universe. And an expanding universe requires a beginning. All universes with a Hubble constant, that's the rate of expansion, every universe with a Hubble constant greater than 0 must have a beginning. And a beginning seems to demand a God hypothesis to account for it, as nothing can do nothing. Someone had to do something to create something from nothing. Scientists do not like the idea of a beginning because that means there must be a creator, some power beyond time and space that created everything that went into causing the Big Bang. What you may not know is that the person who first put forward the Big Bang theory was George Lemaitre, a Belgian Catholic priest and physicist. The Big Bang theory has always been a thoroughly Christian concept. So, how have some scientists avoided having a beginning to the universe and therefore been able to continue to deny the existence of a creator? Well, in order to avoid having God in the picture, you have to first get rid of the idea of having a beginning. And the only possible non-theistic explanation is an infinite multiverse without any beginning, because it is infinite in time. The universe has always existed. Such a model has been popular in recent decades, although this model has some obvious weaknesses, even though it appears at first to be mathematically possible. The associated problem with the infinite fractal multiverse is that this model means that every human being is a Boltzmann brain, or a brief brain. A Boltzmann brain is a brain that springs into life for a moment fully loaded with the memories, understandings, and consciousness that it exists within a universe of other sentient beings. So, with a Boltzmann brain, you are a fleeting point of consciousness. Just one you out of many, many millions of other yous in other universes. But everyone else, everything else you perceive within any of those universes is just your imagination. There I go again, creating other universes in which I did not scratch my nose. While scientists have used this explanation to show the universe can exist without a divine creator, they don't like it very much because it means that science too is just imagination, and all their empirical truths on which science is based are also nothing more than a passing moment of subjective consciousness. Stephen Hawking was the most famous atheistic cosmologist, but Stephen Hawking and Thomas Hertog published a paper in 2018. This was Hawking's last published paper, which said that it is impossible even for an infinite multiverse to produce a universe like ours. And if other universes do exist, they will have to be few in number and very much like this one. And such universes must also have a beginning because they are expanding, or they couldn't exist because multiverses demand expansion. It is rapidly becoming the scientific consensus that every cosmological model, multiverses, string theory, expanding and contracting universes, all of them require a beginning. And a beginning is impossible without some agent transcendent to space and time, or what we would call God. What happens when you put your hot cup of tea down and you forget it? Yes, of course, it goes cold. But how cold does it go? Well, it goes cold enough to match the temperature of the room it is in. If you put it in a fridge, it would go down to the temperature of the fridge. This is equilibrium and is the most natural state of affairs. All systems strive towards equilibrium. But life and the universe could not exist without disequilibrium. Creation needs differences in temperature between stars and space, disequilibrium between chemical elements, differences in pressure between one place and another, because only then is change possible as the universe seeks to achieve equilibrium. Only through a universe that encompasses change is life possible. This is why the universe could not be infinite in time, because it would end in equilibrium. It had to have initial disequilibrium to produce the Big Bang. The fact that the universe is still expanding shows that it still has disequilibrium. And that is only possible if the universe had a beginning. This is all based on the second law of thermodynamics. I said that as if I know what I'm talking about, but I hope I've got impeccable sources for all of this. The chances of having disequilibrium at the Big Bang is known as the Penrose number. This is a very big number. I want you to imagine 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 123. That is a very, very big number. It's said that if you try to write that number out in our normal decimal system, that number would be so large it wouldn't fit in the universe. This degree of probability equates to the chances of a monkey randomly hitting the keys of a typewriter and producing the entire works of Shakespeare at first attempt. Even if we are fortunate enough to have found a monkey that can type out Shakespeare for us to produce the Big Bang, there are many other requirements to be met before life can exist. These requirements for life are called fine-tuning coincidences. Fine-tuning coincidences. There are 20 universal constants in the universe. Universal constants are numbers or for maximums or minimums, or for unchanging and unchangeable ratios, or absolute numbers that have never changed since the Big Bang. The speed of light is one of those constants, one of those 20 constants. Gravitational force is another. If you change one of those constants by the tiniest fraction at the time of the Big Bang, then life is impossible. And remember, there are no laws before the Big Bang that predetermine the constants being what they turned out to be. Let's take the gravitational constant for an example. If you alter the gravitational constant by a factor of, here's another big number, I'll do it as you're looking, 0.00000, and keep on going for 49 zeros, and then write a 1. If the gravitational constant was altered, either lower or higher, by that percentage, then we wouldn't have life and a universe as we know it. We would have had a universe of one continuing explosion, or a universe that had fallen back in on itself into a black hole. And all 20 universal constants have to hit precisely the right level by chance. Sir Fred Hoyle, one of the most ardent atheists in his field, said, "A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics, as well as chemistry and biology, and that there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. The numbers one calculates from the facts seem to me so overwhelming as to put this conclusion almost beyond question." Hoyle later described the chances of life being by pure chance as being like a tornado going through a junkyard and assembling a Boeing 747 ready for flight. Well, that gets you thinking, doesn't it? It certainly did me.